is the situation in Chennai and other parts of Tamil Nadu as a result of very heavy rainfall.
Chennai airport, as you can see, completely underwater.
India's fourth largest city has experienced its heaviest rainfall.
Chennai city confronting its worst crisis after the heaviest rainfall in 100 years.
The sound of falling rain. It dominated Chennai for over 3 days and nights. When it finally stopped, it had battered thousands of lives. At MIOT, the day dawned dark and gloomy. The frequent power cuts from the previous night had continued into the morning. Given the situation, we decided to shift all patients from the 2 buildings to the international block. Even as it was being discussed, power from the electricity board stopped completely, and the hospital made its first shift to backup support. The evacuation begins with 17 ICU patients, 85 regular patients follow. By 6:30 in the evening, they have all been comfortably settled into the ICU and patient rooms in the international block. Quick checks by the admin head at in-house pharmacies confirms availability of necessary drugs, while the oxygen tower, the largest in the country, shows stock for an entire month. Our kitchens confirm inventory for a week. Communication was becoming a problem, with the Manapakkam telephone exchange getting submerged and the cell phone towers going down. News updates told us of a city that was being flooded out, including the international airport. Travel everywhere was becoming a nightmare. In fact, many of our staff who had come off their shift were stranded, making our night duty count much higher than usual. We settled down for the night with 478 patients, 191 medical staff and 54 non-medical staff. We were left with one nagging concern. Electricity board power had not returned. MIOT's daily power consumption of 3,700 kVA is backed up by 10 gensets stationed at vantage points on the campus, which offer twice the daily requirement. These are further backed up by 13 UPS systems. The generators go in for an automatic shutdown when inbuilt sensors start detecting water levels which have crossed preset safety limits. But nothing prepared us for what was to happen later that night. Maintenance staff on duty outside report flooding at an alarming rate. As a precautionary measure, patients in the main block basement are shifted to the international block. The 5 key generators that stand above the 100-year flood line supplying power to the international block are under threat. It was time for quick decisions. We decide to focus power and other resources where they were needed the most, in the ICUs. The second floor of the international block is quickly designated the ICU floor. Patients from all ICU wards across 2 buildings are moved here, including 6 babies recovering from cardiothoracic surgery. They are accompanied by their care teams who are familiar with their case histories and ongoing treatments. This ensures continuity of care at a critical point. The reorganized ICU floor now holds 144 patients across 7 sub-wards. The shift is completed just in time as the 5 generators shut down. Lifts stop and the campus goes into complete darkness, except for the ICU floor. It functions without a break as the dedicated UPS seamlessly takes over all functions for patient care. Only essential lights and monitors are kept on. It is clear, however, that we need to conserve further. Maintenance staff install a separate line connecting the main building generator to the ICU floor. It allows them to switch off the ICU UPS for the time being. The intercom network fails next, making our communication breakdown complete. By now, the Adyar River, which was flowing over the bridge outside MIOT, is gushing in through the gates. MIOT has now turned into an island.
When I came into the hospital, the water was knee-deep. There was no communication. We had to rely on our own resources. We could not evacuate the patients anywhere. There was fast-flowing water all around us. We were completely marooned.
To the hospital, that was the MIOT hospital, but we could not find a dropping zone there. It was a designated helipad which was sold to us. Maybe it is fully covered with water and there were no other places.
It was decided to further pool resources. 38 oxygen cylinders, each weighing 70 kilograms, were manually carried up to the ICU floor from the international basement. Regular water collected from fire line pumps was relayed up to the patient rooms. The catering team set up makeshift kitchens and distributed available oats, milk and biscuits. Unbelievably, the worst was yet to come. The Adyar River, having breached its banks in the night, had powered its way through the Parry property before coming up against the 18-feet wall that surrounds MIOT. This massive mass of water brings down almost 10 meters of the wall and carves out a new river path within the campus, flooding it in no time. It also brings down the embedded oxygen lines, disrupting critical oxygen flow to the ICUs. Almost simultaneously, it floods the last functioning generator. The massive surge then floods 3 basements of the international block with 24 million liters of water. In total contrast to the chaos that rules outside, the ICU staff work with almost zen-like calm. To offset the breakdown of piped oxygen, the stored cylinders are first pooled to create an oxygen hub. Oxygen is then distributed to each bed through pipes as required. As we shifted back to the UPS, which was our last power source, we knew we were racing against time. Patient recoveries in ICUs depends on precise dosages of drugs, ventilation, precise monitoring, and sophisticated gadgets, all of which are electronically supported. The slightest disruption in power can change a patient's condition in seconds. The situation becomes sensitive with older, weaker, and critically ill patients. On December 2nd at 6 a.m., we had 144 patients requiring this standard of ICU care at MIOT. The UPS runs out and staff shift to ambu bags and battery-operated equipment. Inbuilt batteries in these equipments runs out. From this point on, our efforts were completely manual. We used bare hands and mouths to replicate the functioning of medical and mechanical devices. For the next 36 hours, we worked day and night without a break, stopping only when sheer tiredness wore us out, only to be replaced by our colleagues. It was a Herculean task taken up by every member that called for tremendous physical and mental stamina. It was therefore a heartbreaking moment when, despite our best efforts, we lost our first patient on the evening of December 2nd. By third morning, we had lost 19 lives in all, not for lack of oxygen, medicines, expertise, or care. Disaster had struck on an unprecedented scale and brought down with it all our power resources, a crucial input in the care of critically ill patients. On December 3rd, water levels recede. Help arrives from the outside world in the form of an Indian Army truck, which brings much needed food and water. They take back with them our first set of ICU patients, 6 babies from the pediatric ICU. As the MIOT mortuary could not function without power, bodies of patients who had passed away were shifted to the government Royapeta hospital with detailed case reports. With no change in the power situation at MIOT, the ICU staff continued their efforts even as our patients were transferred to other medical centers. They were accompanied by MIOT doctors who carried complete case reports and treatment notes. When the last ambulance left MIOT that night, our staff had been fighting for almost 36 hours without power and without thought for their personal safety or their loved ones back at home. They had clearly gone beyond the call of duty. As I look back at those days of unprecedented disaster at MIOT that mounted every hour, it is clear that we were guided by one thought: to do the best we could. This helped us act together as one, without confusion, without panic, and without any fear, to achieve the best we could. It united the entire range of departments at MIOT, and people worked together as one, irrespective of their position. This phrase, to do the best we could, is what helped many a precious life be saved at MIOT.